こんにちは、友人。ラルフスシトへようこそ。
映画評論家、映画制作者、アーティストであるラルフ・セペ・ジュニアは21世紀最大のビジョナリーの一人です。彼は別の素晴らしい映画を今から推薦します。これこそラルフおすすめの一本です。
I love samurai. I think samurai are the coolest thing ever. Just the history of samurai and their code of honor, it's all so fascinating to me. And I've always watched movies about it, and that's how I discovered Akira Kurosawa, who is an amazing director who's made many different kinds of films, obviously. But what mainly got me into him at first was his samurai films. And not only are they the best samurai movies, they're some of the best films ever made. Seven Samurai, Yojimbo, Hidden Fortress, Rashomon, Throne of Blood. These are all excellent films. But for me, there is one film that stands out in his filmography. Ran is based on a Shakespeare play, like many of Kurosawa's films are. Throne of Blood being Macbeth, The Bad Sleep Well being Hamlet. I haven't seen that because it has no samurai in it. I just looked that up on Google. And Ran is, of course, King Lear, with like hints of Lady Macbeth, kind of, with the character of Lady Keed. This is just a fantastic movie, and what really gravitates most people toward it at first is just the epic scale of it. The sets and the choreography of all the action sequences and the use of color is very well done. Tons of extras on horses, a fantastic score that elevates this material. And then there's tons of tracks in this film that are way more subdued and melancholy, and there's points where there's no sound at all, and it's just like destruction, and it's really brutal to watch. I was gonna get some sake, but I couldn't find any, so we'll just go with gin. Yeah, really sticking to that Japanese theme, Ralph. There you go, that's good. And if you want to really talk what this movie's about, it's about an old lord. He's clearly past his prime. He's falling asleep during meetings. He's like hallucinating, saying all kinds of crazy shit like he has Alzheimer's or something. So he decides to retire and leave his kingdom that he's built up to his three sons, Taro, Jiro, and Saburo. And of course, he hopes that everything will go along just fine. He's leaving it to his sons. His sons can handle the kingdom because they're, of course, spawns of him, and he's a great leader. And it turns out his sons are selfish and greedy, and everyone around them is selfish and corrupt. So of course the actor who's playing Lord Hidetoro was just 53 years old when playing this character, and he is in makeup to make him look way older. And the first half of this movie builds up to, of course, this epic showdown between the sons and the father, in which they try to overtake the castle he's hiding in, and it's this epic action scene. Tons of extras, all of it was done practically. Again, going back to the use of color, where you have like these very pronounced bright reds to represent Jiro, and then you have Saburo, who at first in the story is presented as the troublemaker. When Lord Hidetora is like telling his sons how to be good leaders and how they're all together, and when they're together, they're unstoppable. Saburo basically calls his father a fool.
父上、いつの矢を束ねても折れぬとは言えません。こ
のひねくれ者、またたわけた振る舞いを。たわけた振る舞いは父上のなさり方じゃ。急にたわごとを言い出されて。たわごとじゃと？さよう。急に追いぼれたのか、狂われたのか。黙れ！
And so you think he's gonna be the antagonist of the story. But again, that use of color, you have these bright blue colors on him. And then you have Saburo's servant, Tango. And he seems like a very honorable person. When you get to the final battle of the film, which is Saburo versus Jiro, you have these red guys versus these blue guys, and it's very visually clear what's going on. So Saburo ends up becoming the hero of the story. Meanwhile, Jiro, at first, is like the nice one. He basically tells his father everything he wants to hear, and that's because he's being a kiss-ass. And he ends up being the most conniving and corrupt out of all of them. And he has his own servant, much like Saburo has Tango. He has his own servant who's a fucking dickhead. Then you have Taro, who is somewhat fair, but he's mainly influenced by his wife, Lady Kaide. And the second half of the film is more about how Lady Kaide manipulated these brothers into fighting each other so she could avenge her family who was killed. There's an excellent moment during the overtaking the castle scene where the father comes out with his, epic legendary sword that he carries around with him. It shows his status and his honor, and he tries to fight the men with it, and it breaks to show just how fragile and empty that power really was. Everyone who we thought would help him and protect him end up fighting each other and abusing their power so that they can take control of the kingdom. So in the first half of this film, you're really made to like Lord Hidetora. And you see him as a good guy, you see him as a good father, he's very wise, and it seems like his people love him. But then in the second half of the film, you learn all of the horrific, brutal things that Lord Hidetora had to do to get that position. There are characters from his past, like this blind guy who comes up, Tsuramaru, and Lady Sue as well.
Hidetora殿、わしを覚えておるのか。忘れましょうや。幼くとも父の城が燃えたあの日、命と引き換えにこの目をお潰しなされた。その人は忘れません。
This guy was just a terrible father and a ruthless leader. And because of that, his sons are just as ruthless and conniving as he is. And that's what does him in, is that he just wasn't a good guy. And when everyone is selfish and corrupt, all you get is pain and suffering and death. I mean, even characters like Kuwaimi, who is like presented as the comedic relief of the film, he's also kind of this reflective part of Lord Hidetora, where the fool is the only one who actually tells Hidetora the truth. He's almost like his counsel, and it's just funny that Hidetora takes him so seriously and has him with him this whole journey. Plus, even though he's the comedic relief, he has plenty of moments where he shows range and parts where he's sad and angry, and he's not just this one-dimensional comedic relief character the whole movie, which I'm just so sick of.
She ate my butt.
I'm sorry, she did what?
She ate my butt. She ate your...
いるなら聞け！お前らは気まぐれなやつら小僧だ！天井の退屈しのぎに虫けらのように人を殺して喜んでやがる。いやい！人間が泣き叫ぶのがそんなに面白いのか！
If you go to the bathroom and you see some baby wipes, green light.
You just need to watch this movie to see someone who's a master of their craft. And Kurosawa is. He made this movie when he was 75 years old. I love the way that his films look like these traditional classic Japanese paintings where there's no depth to the images, they're all very flat. Apparently he was obsessed with mortality when he made this film. He was depressed, I believe he was suicidal, and the dark themes that were going on in his head come through in this film. This is a film that explores very dark things, and it doesn't have a happy ending. The Buddha is a big part of this film.
これは阿弥陀様の絵姿。私の代わりにそなたを守ってくれまする。
姉上。
すぐじゃ。すぐ戻ります。
And then the film ends with him losing the Buddha off a cliff, and then he's stuck there blind, unable to move. There's a lot of Buddhism metaphor and imagery in this movie. And you don't have to literally interpret it as Buddha. You need a moral code, you need God. If you don't have any of those things, you are going to make the world a worse place. And it will come back to get you. Karma, that's the word of the day. Some of you think this is offensive because I'm dressed in samurai armor. I love samurai, alright? Do you have samurai armor? I don't think so. Hello, my friend. Mushi Mushi.